Check the mic and make sure it sound right.
Hi, I'm DK Will, and this is DK. We'll talk about it.
Well, how you doing? I thought today it's Saturday. Take a look at this article here from yesterday. It's June 6th article. XRP on the verge of a W bottom reversal, according to the Bollinger Band signal. And this article mentions that it's headed to a familiar spot, hitting the lower Bollinger Band for the second time in less than 2 weeks. And this is just a visual pattern. In John Bollinger's own framework, a second touch at the lower band often acts as a test. Now, in my world, a double bottom often acts as a reversal to go the other way. It's not technically a buy signal on its own, he says, but he has described it as part of a process. If we could set up for a W bottom or double bottom, it could be a signal that a trend is weakening instead of continuing. In this case, XRP has not broken down. After dropping back down to 207, the price held steady there and is now just above it. And as we speak, we can see that it did bounce back because now it's up to about $2.17 after bouncing down here to the 207 mark, as was mentioned. As a matter of fact, that's even 206 on the wick. But it says slow and steady, but not too much going on. This is usually the key thing to look for during this kind of compression. Well, it's been XRP's price been compressed and suppressed and depressed forever because they're trying to get up as much as they can and accumulate. We're going to talk about that next. But the bands are looking more and more narrow, so volatility is drying up. When that happens, the price is close to the lower limit. The market is basically preparing for the next move. The next move is going to be up. It was a test of the bottom, and apparently the bulls are there. I'll show that. But you'll notice the volume increase over here. I wish that would get out of the way. But along the bottom here, you can see the volume increase. After it dipped down to the red, we had a major volume increase that was sustained for a good while. Until what? Until the institutions and the market makers grab some more XRP to the fidgety, ridgety hands that do not understand the concept of having a gorilla grip on your XRP. That's what that's about. It says it could hold steady at 207. It might eventually become part of a reversal pattern. But if it does not, well, we already seen that it has. XRP starts closing below the band with volume, then the move toward $1.95 could really happen. Well, it didn't happen. But what it did present was a buying opportunity for anyone who's been cold footing it on getting involved in this XRP. And I was thinking before I did this video, I was thinking, well, there was a gold rush, and everybody was rushing out west to go get gold. That was the way to go. There's an internet boom. There was a .com for everything, and those who got ahead of it, took advantage of it. There was a personal computer boom too. People not realizing just how extensive it's going to go from those big, clunky, noisy desktops to now you have more power on just your phone than used to take up a whole room back then. And now we have the internet of money. So I thought we'd talk about this article here. I apologize for Bogey. I'll try to edit some of that out. Bogey's the parrot. Here, Sam Wisdom covered an article that was actually based on an X poster and talking about owning just 10,000 XRP may soon be impossible for 99% of investors. And for those who know me, who watch my video, who've been around for the years, and I know who they are, and they know who I am. There's a time way back when, probably about 2018, where I was encouraging everybody in a conference group to shoot for 10,000 XRP. And that was our goal originally. It started at 5, we went to 10. We're modest, just regular guys at the time, and still. But nonetheless, our target was 10,000, and a lot of us made it. And now looking back, I hope everyone who knows what I'm talking about appreciates that was the right thing to do, Bogey, because now even 4 or 5,000 is a bonus to have. But back then, when we were talking about it, we were looking at prices anywhere from 12 cents to 27 cents, maybe. It went sometimes up into the 30s, 35, 36 cents, maybe. And that was the time to buy. Hindsight is always 2020. So what's the point? Well, according to this article, Eduardo Farino, the founder of Alpha Lions Academy and head of social adoption at XRP Healthcare, has consistently urged investors to procure as much as 10,000 XRP.
And if you like the content I'm providing, please make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, and then come back for more DK Will Talk About It.
I've been encouraging ones to do it for about 7 years, and it paid off. But it goes on to say if XRP ever hit the $100 price, the 10,000 tokens, currently worth 22,300, would skyrocket to $1 million. Now, if you think about the conversations I had with my conference group, my buddies in there, those 10,000 coins would have only cost maybe $2,500, really, on the average, almost a tenth of what we're looking at. Depends on when everyone got on. And it would have absolutely have been worth it. And I'm sure everyone who was a part of that now is glad that we did it because it is proving fruitful. But as XRP price goes up, as we see, it becomes more and more difficult for ones to actually secure XRP in their portfolio. This indicates the average salary earner in the US who makes $65,000 a year would need to save up for 15 years without touching their annual pay to be able to afford 10,000 XRP at that time, at the time of $1 million. So the point is, if you want to front run with us, you've already paid the consequences for delay. Don't pay any more consequences if you can find your way into this market. Remember, we saw a buying opportunity come here. I'm sorry for Bogey if you hear him. And when you back up, it's been one of the best buying opportunities in a month. Well, it's gone now. That's okay. That's okay. It's still not back where it started from. And if you back up from a year, you can see where it took off back here in November. And I know absolutely without a doubt, I was encouraging folks to buy. And even in some of my prior videos, I mentioned it was 50 or 60, it may be 60 cents. And it did become 60 cents. But the point was get it while you can still get it at these prices. And then November took off. So now we're in a whole nother league. And so maybe 10,000 is not the target anymore. Maybe it's 5,000 because of the delay. These calls began last year before XRP's impressive run in the fourth quarter of the year, specifically October, November, October. Farino insisted that every ambitious investor should aim to hold 10,000 XRP tokens. And at the time, XRP changed hands at 52 cents at that time. I'll put a card up here for when I was talking about it if I find the right video. With 10,000 tokens costing 5,200. Well, as I said, I was saying it when it could have cost you half of that. And Farino probably was saying it too. That's not the point. Here's the final point in the next article. This one. It poses the question, is XRP about to disappear from exchanges? And here's what you need to know. I've been closely watching X. Now, this person's line of reasoning is going to be covered here in this video. However, I will say that that's another thing I've been encouraging because I actually do believe that XRP will very likely, extremely likely, follow the pattern of gold. It may become so systemically important that we won't be allowed to hold it anymore. It may become a issue of national security and a public good. We may be told that we have to sell it, and nobody who's not a institution or accredited somehow will be even able to buy it. It will circulate amongst the giants, but you got to be there to get rewarded before that happens. And if not, then they will create a market for it, and we will be able to offer it into the market makers' use, and we can get revenue streams generated from owning our XRP and allowing it, facilitating its use within the system, and therefore not be holding up the system. I hope that all makes sense. But what really makes sense most of all is that if you don't have it, you're about to run out of time to get it. Is it about to disappear from the exchanges? Well, this guy says he's been closely watching. Something big is brewing, he thinks, and the supply is drying up. Another thing I talk about on my calls with my conference friends is that it is an appreciating asset simply because of supply and demand, because it burns. It says here every time someone transfers XRP, 0.00000001 XRP is permanently destroyed. So that means the supply is shrinking as it gets used. Now take that fact in mind while the use is steadily increasing tremendously. It says, according to fresh data from CryptoQuant, Binance's XRP holdings have dropped from 2.9 billion to around 2.86 billion just this year. That's 82 million XRP gone. And if you can include coins being moved off exchanges into private wallets, it gets even more serious. And that's us. That's many of us. The lion's share of my XRP portfolio is not on an exchange. And more will do that. And as I showed in the prior video, the whales and everybody's holdings, and some of them were not on chain. Perhaps I'll scroll through that here again after I continue going through this. It says since January, around 183 million XRP have been quietly withdrawn from Binance alone. These aren't small moves. This tells people are preparing to hold for the long term, and they don't want to risk leaving their XRP on exchanges. Well, I told you I took some of mine out of Uphold after they screwed me. And I like Uphold, but I, I call it like it is. They dogged me, and so that's how important our XRP is. It was only 100 and some coins, and I say only relatively because that's a lot to some people, and it was a lot to me. I don't want to give up one coin unless I choose to. It says there's a 90% chance that if we'll see XRP ETF approved by the end of 2025. If that happens, big institutions, banks, asset managers, hedge funds will start pouring in, and they'll need XRP to back it. I've said that 1,000 times, but here's what I don't agree with. They are already pouring in. They won't start pouring in. They're already pouring in. They will just start flooding in. And that's when demand could explode and supply might simply not be there. Well, what's the simple case of supply and demand? If there's a high demand and a low supply, the price is going to blow up. And Ripple does not supply the exchanges anymore. And that's probably why they try to get as many as they can. And right now, they're manipulating markets to get as many retail people to get frustrated and give up as they can. Look at this trail back here that started way back here in 2021 and then fell. And this is 2022. And then they put their giant Sasquatch foot on it from April of 22 until October, really November of 24 for 2 years, squashed. So, folks, you may not be able to get 10,000 if you're not in that position. That's okay. But what can you get? I suggest you get it. Plus, a lot of things are happening right now that could turn things around. And in fact, as we have seen, things have turned around. If that's not a V, I don't know what it is. And there's always the risk of you not being able to get it anymore. Sooner or later, those who drag their butts are going to get shut out. It's just going to be too late. So even though you may not be able to own 10,000, maybe it's time to own something, some of it. And I'll offer one more thought that I shared with people, and I also covered it in one of my older videos. You can sit your money in a bank right now. I don't know what they're paying on savings accounts. It could be, I guarantee it's not more than 4 or 5%. Used to be it was point something percent. It depends on the bank, I guess. And that's money that you probably have sitting there, we'll say, in a savings account. And at best, even if it gives you 10%, which on traditional terms, that's a nice return. There's no way it's going to do better for you than something like this. Something as simple as where this went from 207 to 218 or 11 cents. 11 cents. That is roughly 5% right there in just 2 days. And it's not going to stop because if you really back up, look where it would have been if your money was sitting here, there to here. Pick your point, there to here. Why do I pick these lower points? Because you buy when there's blood in the streets. You don't buy high and sell low. You buy low and sell high. But you better do it before you can't do it anymore. I'm DKWILL, and this is DKWILL Talk About It. And I've talked about it. Have a wonderful day.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.